Picture this. A 7-month pregnant woman stands in the doorway of her destroyed nursery, tears streaming down her face as she stares at the wreckage of her dreams. Hand-painted murals slashed with red paint, a custom wooden crib smashed to pieces, baby clothes torn and scattered across the floor like broken promises. But here's what her cheating husband and his psychotic mistress didn't know. This wasn't just any pregnant woman. This was a mother protecting her unborn child. And when you threaten a mother's baby, you've just awakened the most dangerous force on earth. By the end of that evening, Sophia will understand that she has no choice but to disappear quietly, permanently. Those were Isabella's exact words as she planned murder. What she didn't expect was that Sophia was recording every single word. If you're ready for the most shocking revenge story you've ever heard, where the betrayed wife doesn't just survive, she conquers, then smash that like button, subscribe for more incredible stories, and ring that notification bell because this tale of justice will leave you speechless. Let's dive into the story that proves karma isn't just real. It's absolutely brutal. The late afternoon sun cast golden rays through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Manhattan penthouse, illuminating what should have been the most beautiful room in the Sterling mansion. Sophia Chen Sterling stood in the doorway of the nursery she had spent 6 months lovingly designing, her hand resting protectively on her 7-month pregnant belly. Every detail of this room had been chosen with infinite care, from the hand-painted murals of dancing angels on the walls to the custom-crafted wooden crib that had taken a master carpenter 3 weeks to complete. At 28, Sophia possessed an artistic soul that had made her one of New York's most sought-after interior designers before she married Marcus Sterling 3 years ago. Her delicate Asian features were enhanced by warm brown eyes that sparkled with creativity and intelligence. Now, carrying their first child, she radiated that special glow that made pregnancy beautiful. The soft pastel colors of the nursery powder pink, cream, and gold reflected her gentle nature and her dreams for the little girl who would soon call this room home. The nursery was her masterpiece. Silk curtains embroidered with butterflies framed the windows. An antique rocking chair sat beside the crib, where Sophia had spent countless hours reading pregnancy books and imagining herself singing lullabies to her daughter. The walls were adorned with paintings she had created herself, whimsical scenes of mothers and babies, fairy tales, and garden parties where children played under rainbow skies. Marcus Sterling had built an empire around children's dreams. At 35, he was the brilliant and ruthless CEO of Little Angels, a luxury baby goods chain worth $500 million. His stores stretched across North America, each one a temple to parenthood, where wealthy families came to purchase everything from diamond-encrusted pacifiers to cribs made from endangered wood. Marcus was tall, sharp-featured, with the kind of commanding presence that made boardrooms fall silent when he entered. Their life together had seemed like a fairy tale. Lavish trips to Paris where Marcus would buy her vintage baby clothes from exclusive boutiques. Weekends in Tokyo selecting the finest silk for tiny kimonos. Diamond jewelry that caught the light as beautifully as Sophia's smile when Marcus surprised her with yet another thoughtful gift. The media called them America's royal couple, the artistic beauty and the business titan building their empire of dreams. But fairy tales, Sophia was about to learn, could become nightmares in the space of a single afternoon. The first crack in her perfect world appeared on a Tuesday evening in October. Marcus had been working late again, or so he claimed. These late nights had become increasingly frequent over the past 3 months, always with the excuse of expanding into the European market or finalizing the Asian distribution deal. Sophia had tried to be understanding. After all, she had temporarily stepped back from her own career to focus on the pregnancy and preparing for motherhood. That evening, Marcus left his laptop open on the kitchen counter while he showered. Sophia hadn't intended to pry, but a notification sound drew her attention. An email had arrived from Isabella Rodriguez, the head of marketing for Little Angels. Sophia knew Isabella, a stunning 26-year-old with flowing black hair, emerald eyes, and the kind of curves that made men stop mid-sentence. She was brilliant at her job, having increased Little Angel's social media presence by 300% in just 1 year. The email preview made Sophia's blood freeze. "Darling, I can't wait for you to leave that pregnant woman and start our real life together." With trembling fingers, Sophia clicked the email open. What she read shattered her world into a million pieces. "Marcus, my love, I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of pretending to respect that wife of yours while she waddles around playing house. You promised me that after the baby comes, you'd divorce her and we'd be together openly. I want that now. I've given you the best year of my life, and I deserve more than stolen moments in hotel rooms. I want you to leave her. Today. That baby doesn't need to be raised by a father who doesn't love its mother. I'll give you children, real children born from love, not obligation. The new store opening is in 3 weeks. I want to walk into that event as your official partner, not your dirty little secret. Make your choice. Marcus. Her or me. Forever yours. Isabella P. S. I have a little surprise planned for your precious wife's nursery. She needs to understand that there's no place for her baby in our future." Sophia read the email 3 times, each reading making the words cut deeper into her heart. Her legs gave out, and she sank into a kitchen chair, one hand pressed to her mouth to stifle a sob, the other cradling her belly protectively. The baby kicked, as if sensing her distress. When Marcus emerged from the shower 20 minutes later, hair still damp and looking more handsome than ever in his silk pajamas, Sophia was waiting for him with the laptop open. "How long?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Marcus glanced at the screen, and for just a moment, his confident facade cracked. But instead of shame or remorse, his expression hardened into something cold and calculating. "How long what?" "Sophia. Don't lie to me. Not now. How long have you been sleeping with Isabella?" Marcus walked to the kitchen island, poured himself a glass of whiskey, and drank it slowly before answering. 14 months. The casual way he said it, as if he were discussing the weather, made Sophia's heart shatter completely. 14 months. But that means you were with her when we conceived the baby. You were with her during my morning sickness. You were with her when we heard the heartbeat for the first time. Sophia, you're being dramatic. Dramatic. Sophia's voice rose, echoing in the marble kitchen. Dramatic. I'm 7 months pregnant with your child, and you've been having an affair for over a year. Keep your voice down. The neighbors. I don't care about the neighbors. Sophia stood up, swaying slightly as her pregnancy made sudden movements difficult. I care about my husband. I care about our marriage. I care about our baby. Marcus finished his whiskey and set the glass down with a sharp clink. The truth is, Sophia, Isabella understands my world better than you ever have. She understands business. She understands ambition. She doesn't just sit around painting pictures of clouds and rainbows. Each word was a knife to Sophia's heart. Painting pictures. Is that what you think I do? I built a successful design business before I married you. I gave that up to support your dreams, to create a home for us. And I appreciate that. But Isabella, she challenges me. She makes me want to conquer the world. You make me want to settle. The word settle hung in the air like poison. Sophia felt as if she might collapse, but something inside her, perhaps the protective instinct of motherhood, kept her standing. What about our baby? What about the nursery I've been preparing? What about the life we planned? Marcus's expression didn't soften. The baby will be fine. You'll be a good mother. But Isabella and I, we're going to build something bigger than anything you could imagine. That night, Sophia lay awake in their king-size bed, listening to Marcus sleep peacefully beside her, as if nothing had changed. She stared at the ceiling, her hand moving in slow circles over her belly, whispering to her unborn daughter, "It's going to be okay, baby girl. Mommy will figure this out. Mommy will protect you." The next morning, Marcus left for work early without saying goodbye. Sophia had a prenatal appointment at 11, a routine checkup that she had been looking forward to because Marcus had promised to attend. She called his office, but his secretary said he was in meetings all day. Dr. Martinez, Sophia's obstetrician, was concerned about her elevated blood pressure and stress levels. "Mrs. Sterling, I need you to take things easy. This kind of stress isn't good for you or the baby." "I'm fine, doctor. Just some work pressure." "Perhaps your husband could come to the next appointment. It's important for partners to be involved, especially as we get closer to delivery." Sophia forced a smile. "He's very busy with his business, but I'll ask." After the appointment, Sophia drove through Central Park, taking the long way home. She needed time to think, to process, to figure out what to do next. The autumn leaves were turning brilliant shades of gold and red, and she tried to find peace in their beauty. She stopped at a small cafe and ordered a decaf latte, sitting by the window and watching young mothers push their strollers down the sidewalk. She made a decision. She would fight for her marriage. She would confront Isabella. She would remind Marcus of everything they had built together, everything they could still build. She was not going to let another woman destroy her family before it had even really begun. Sophia arrived home at 3 o'clock, feeling more determined than she had since discovering the email. She climbed the stairs to the second floor, planning to take a short nap before Marcus came home. As she reached the top of the stairs, she heard something that made her freeze. Music was playing from the nursery. Not the soft classical music she often played while arranging baby clothes, but loud, aggressive pop music that seemed to mock the gentle atmosphere she had so carefully created. Sophia's heart began to race. She had locked the nursery before leaving for her appointment, a habit she had developed because the room was so precious to her. Who could be inside? She approached the nursery door, which was slightly ajar, and peered inside. What she saw made her gasp in horror. Isabella Rodriguez stood in the center of the room, beautiful and terrible in a way that seemed almost supernatural. She wore a tight black dress and stiletto heels, her dark hair flowing over her shoulders like a malevolent waterfall. In her hands was a can of red paint, and she was systematically destroying everything Sophia held dear. The hand-painted murals were covered in violent slashes of red paint. The word "unwanted" was scrawled across the wall where Sophia had painted a mother holding her baby. The antique rocking chair was overturned, its delicate upholstery slashed with what appeared to be a knife. Baby clothes were scattered across the floor, torn and paint-stained. But the worst was yet to come. As Sophia watched in silent horror, Isabella raised a hammer and brought it down on the custom wooden crib, splintering the headboard that had been carved with dancing angels. "No!" Sophia cried out, rushing into the room. "Stop, please, stop!" Isabella turned, and her beautiful face was twisted with malicious satisfaction. "Oh, look, the pregnant princess has come home. Get out of my house. Get out of my baby's room." "Your baby's room?" Isabella laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Honey, there is no room for your baby in Marcus's future. He's mine now. This whole house will be mine soon." Sophia looked around at the destruction, her hands shaking as she took in the magnitude of what Isabella had done. 6 months of work, of love, of dreams, all destroyed in an afternoon of rage. How could you do this? How could you destroy something so innocent? "Because I need you to understand that Marcus chose me, not you, not your boring suburban dreams. Me." Isabella stepped closer, her heels crunching on broken pieces of the wooden mobile that had hung over the crib. "He gave me the key to this house. He told me to come here and make myself comfortable. So I did." "You're lying." Isabella reached into her purse and pulled out a set of keys, dangling them mockingly in front of Sophia's face. "Am I? These are real, sweetheart." "Marcus gave them to me last week. He also gave me something else." From her purse, Isabella withdrew a small black velvet box. With theatrical flair, she opened it to reveal a stunning diamond ring, not an engagement ring, but something even more precious. It was a push present, The kind of gift husbands gave wives after the birth of their children. "He bought this for me," Isabella purred. "For when I give birth to his real children, children who won't have to grow up knowing their father never loved their mother." Sophia felt as if she might faint. She gripped the doorframe for support, her vision blurring with tears and shock. "You're not pregnant. Not yet. But I will be. As soon as Marcus divorces you and marries me, we'll start our perfect family. The family he actually wants." As if summoned by their voices, footsteps echoed on the stairs. Marcus appeared in the doorway, and for a moment, he looked genuinely surprised by the scene before him. His eyes took in the destroyed nursery, Isabella standing amid the wreckage with paint on her hands, and Sophia collapsed against the wall with tears streaming down her face. "Isabella, what the hell did you do?" "I did what needed to be done," Isabella replied coolly. "I made it clear that there's no place for her or her baby in our future." Sophia looked at her husband with desperate hope. Surely now he would see what kind of woman Isabella really was. Surely now he would throw her out and beg Sophia's forgiveness. Instead, Marcus walked over to Isabella and put his arm around her waist. "You shouldn't have done this here." What if the neighbors heard Sophia's world crumbled completely? Her husband's concern wasn't for her pain or their destroyed nursery. It was about what the neighbors might think. "Marcus," Sophia whispered, "look what she did to our baby's room. Look what she did to everything I made for our daughter." Marcus glanced around the room with what appeared to be mild irritation, as if someone had simply rearranged the furniture in a way he didn't prefer. "It's just stuff. Sophia, we can buy new stuff. It's not just stuff. This was our baby's first home. These were the walls she would have stared at as an infant. This was the chair where I was going to nurse her and sing to her and—" "Sophia, you're being hysterical. Pregnancy hormones make women emotional. Dr. What's-his-name told us that." Isabella smirked with satisfaction. "See, baby, she's exactly as dramatic as I told you she'd be." Marcus nodded as if this confirmed something they had discussed many times. "Isabella is right. You always make everything into a big production. This is just a room. We'll hire someone to redecorate it." "Redecorate it?" Sophia's voice rose to nearly a scream. "She destroyed everything. She destroyed 6 months of work. She destroyed things I made with my own hands for our daughter. Our daughter will be fine in any room. She won't remember what color the walls were." The casual cruelty of his words broke something fundamental inside Sophia. She realized that the man she had loved, the man she had married, the father of her child, that man either no longer existed or had never existed at all. Isabella stepped forward, her beautiful face radiating false sympathy. "Sophia, honey, this is actually a blessing. You can start fresh. Maybe design a room that's more realistic, more appropriate for a single mother's budget." Single mother. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Sophia, we need to talk. About our future. About what's best for everyone. What's best for everyone is for you to throw this woman out of our house and remember that you have a wife and a baby on the way." "I have a business empire to think about," Marcus replied coldly. "Isabella understands that empire. She's part of it. You. You're just the woman who happened to get pregnant at an inconvenient time." The words hit Sophia like physical blows. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor among the wreckage of her dreams, her arms wrapped protectively around her belly. Isabella knelt down beside her with mock concern. "Oh, sweetie, don't cry. I'm sure you'll find someone else eventually. Someone more suitable for a woman with your limitations." From her purse, Isabella pulled out a photograph and dropped it in Sophia's lap. It was an ultrasound image, just like the one Sophia had treasured from her own pregnancy. But this one had Isabella's name on it. "Surprise," Isabella whispered. "I'm 6 weeks pregnant with Marcus's child, the child he actually wants." Sophia stared at the ultrasound image, and suddenly everything became clear. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't just a moment of weakness or a midlife crisis. This was a calculated takeover of her entire life. The timing is perfect. Marcus said, his voice taking on the same tone he used in business meetings. Isabella will have the baby just 6 months after yours. We can raise them together as a real family. What about me? Sophia whispered. You'll figure it out. You're smart. You'll be fine. Isabella stood and brushed imaginary dust off her black dress. We should go, darling. I have a massage appointment at 4, and then we're meeting the lawyer about, well, you know. They walked out of the destroyed nursery arm in arm, leaving Sophia sitting on the floor surrounded by the shattered remains of her dreams. She heard their voices echoing down the hallway, heard Isabella's laughter mixing with Marcus's deeper tones, heard the front door close as they left for their massage and their lawyer. For a long time, Sophia sat motionless among the wreckage. The baby kicked inside her, strong movements that seemed to say, I'm still here, Mommy. I'm still counting on you. Slowly, painfully, Sophia began to pick up the pieces. Not to clean them up, that would come later, but to examine them, to understand exactly what had been taken from her. As she lifted a fragment of the broken mobile, something caught her eye. In her purse, which Isabella had carelessly left behind in her dramatic exit, was a small recording device, the same kind Sophia had used when conducting client interviews for her design business. The red light was blinking, indicating that it was still recording. Isabella, in her arrogance and need to document her victory, had recorded everything. Sophia picked up the device and held it carefully, as if it were made of the most precious crystal. For the first time since reading that email, she smiled. Oh, Isabella, she whispered to the empty room. You have no idea what you've just done. As the late afternoon sun slanted through the broken remains of the nursery windows, Sophia Sterling began to plan. She was no longer just a pregnant woman who had been betrayed. She was a mother protecting her child, and everyone was about to learn that there was nothing more dangerous in the world than a mother who had been pushed too far. The war had begun, and Sophia intended to win. The night after Isabella destroyed the nursery, Sophia didn't sleep. She sat in the master bedroom's window seat, wrapped in a cashmere throw, watching the city lights twinkle below, while Marcus slept peacefully in their bed as if nothing had changed. The recording device lay in her lap like a weapon waiting to be deployed. She had listened to the recording 17 times. Each playback revealed new details: Isabella's confession about the fake pregnancy test she had shown Marcus, her boasts about manipulating him into giving her access to company finances, her detailed plans for pushing Sophia out of Marcus's life completely. The stupid bitch actually thinks her little paintings matter. Isabella's voice crackled through the tiny speaker. Once I'm Mrs. Sterling, I'm turning that pathetic art studio into a proper wine cellar. And that ridiculous nursery, it's becoming my walk-in closet. But the most damning revelation came near the end of the recording, when Isabella thought she was alone in the room. Phase 1 complete. The nursery is destroyed, and she's broken. Phase 2, get rid of her permanently. Marcus is too weak to do it himself, so I'll have to arrange something. A fall down the stairs during a pregnancy complication should do it. Make it look natural. Sophia's hand moved protectively to her belly. Isabella wasn't just trying to steal her husband. She was planning to kill her. As dawn broke over Manhattan, Sophia made a decision that would change everything. She was not going to run. She was not going to hide. She was going to fight back with every weapon at her disposal. And she had more weapons than Isabella realized. The first step was research. While Marcus showered and prepared for another day of betraying his pregnant wife, Sophia used his laptop to access the Little Angel's corporate databases. Her fingers flew across the keyboard as she downloaded financial records, employee files, and internal communications. What she found made her gasp. Isabella Rodriguez had been stealing from the company for months. Small amounts at first, a few thousand here and there from the marketing budget, explained away as influencer partnerships and social media campaigns. But recently, the amounts had grown bolder. In the past 2 months alone, Isabella had redirected over $200,000 from various company accounts into a personal account under the name Maria Santos. Sophia cross-referenced the name and found something even more shocking. Maria Santos was Isabella's real name, and she had a criminal record. 3 previous wealthy husbands, 3 similar patterns of seduction, theft, and mysterious accidents that left the wives dead or missing. The woman living in Sophia's house, destroying her life, planning to murder her, was a professional con artist and possibly a killer. Sophia printed everything and hid the documents in her old portfolio case, the one she had used during her design career. Then she dressed carefully in a navy maternity dress and pearls she wanted to look respectable, trustworthy, like someone who deserved to be believed. Her first stop was the Manhattan District Attorney's office, where she requested a meeting with Detective Patricia Morrison, a woman Sophia had met at a charity fundraiser who specialized in financial crimes and domestic violence cases. Detective Morrison listened intently as Sophia laid out the evidence, the recording, the financial documents, the background check on Isabella, Maria. Mrs. Sterling, Detective Morrison said, her voice grave. This woman you've described, we've been tracking someone matching this description for 2 years. If this is the same person, she's wanted in connection with 3 suspicious deaths and approximately $2 million in theft. What do I do? My husband doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm just jealous. First, you stay safe. Don't confront her directly. Second, you document everything. Keep recording conversations if possible. Third, Detective Morrison paused, studying Sophia's face carefully. Do you have somewhere safe to go? Family, friends she doesn't know about? Yes. My college roommate Emma lives in Boston. But I can't just run away. This is my life, my home, my baby's future. Mrs. Sterling, I understand your feelings, but no, Sophia interrupted, surprising herself with the firmness in her voice. I'm not running. I'm fighting back. I need to know what evidence you need to arrest her. Detective Morrison smiled for the first time during their meeting. I like your spirit. Here's what we need. Over the next hour, Detective Morrison outlined a plan. Sophia would continue to document Isabella's activities while staying safely out of her way. The police would begin surveillance and work on building a case, but they needed more evidence, particularly proof of the death threats and the financial theft. There's one more thing, Detective Morrison said as Sophia prepared to leave. Do you have any business connections who might be willing to help someone in Isabella's professional circle who might have noticed irregularities? Sophia thought for a moment, then smiled. Actually, yes. I think I know exactly the right person. David Park had been in love with Sophia Chen since their sophomore year at Columbia University. He was 2 years older, studying business while she pursued fine arts, and he had spent countless hours in the library pretending to study while actually watching her sketch in her notebook. He had been planning to ask her out when she started dating Marcus Sterling, the charismatic MBA student who seemed to have everything David lacked: confidence, family money, and the kind of aggressive ambition that attracted attention. David had graciously stepped aside, but he never forgot Sophia. He built his own business empire, founding Angel Dreams, a boutique chain of baby stores that competed directly with Marcus's Little Angels, where Little Angels focused on luxury and excess. Angel Dreams emphasized craftsmanship, sustainability, and genuine care for children's development. David's stores were smaller but more profitable, and his company had been steadily gaining market share for 3 years. He was in his Seattle flagship store, reviewing quarterly reports, when his assistant announced that Sophia Sterling was on the phone. Sophia's voice was soft, uncertain. I hope you don't mind me calling. I got your number from the Columbia Alumni Directory. Sophia, of course I don't mind. How are you? How's the pregnancy going? There was a pause, and when Sophia spoke again, David could hear tears in her voice. David, I need help. I'm in trouble, and I don't know who else to turn to. Within 6 hours, David was on a plane to New York. They met at a small cafe in Brooklyn, far from Manhattan's social circles where Isabella might see them. Sophia had chosen a corner table where she could sit with her back to the wall, a precaution Detective Morrison had suggested. David arrived first, his heart breaking when he saw Sophia walk in. even 7 months pregnant and clearly exhausted. She was still the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. But there was something different about her, a steel in her spine that hadn't been there in college. "Thank you for coming," Sophia said as she carefully lowered herself into the chair across from him. "Tell me everything." Sophia told him everything. The affair, the destroyed nursery, Isabella's true identity, the death threats, the financial theft. She showed him the documents, played portions of the recording, and watched his expression grow darker with each revelation. "This woman," David said finally, "this Isabella, I've heard of her. She tried to poach 3 of my key employees last year with offers that seemed too good to be true. We ran a background check and found some irregularities, so we passed on hiring her team." "What kind of irregularities?" "Financial, references that didn't check out, a gap in her employment history that she couldn't explain." David leaned forward, his voice intense. "Sophia, I want to help you. Not just because of what this woman has done to you, but because she's clearly targeting successful businesses in our industry. If she's stealing from little angels, she might come after Angel Dreams next." "What are you proposing?" David smiled, and for the first time in days, Sophia felt a flutter of hope. "I'm proposing that we destroy her before she destroys anyone else. But we're going to do it legally, thoroughly, and in a way that ensures she never hurts another family." Over the next 2 hours, they developed a plan that was both brilliant and audacious. David would use his business connections to investigate Isabella's activities across the industry. Sophia would continue documenting evidence while maintaining the pretense of being a broken, defeated wife. Detective Morrison would coordinate law enforcement activities, and when they had enough evidence, they would strike at the moment when Isabella would be most vulnerable and exposed. "There's one more thing," David said as they prepared to leave the cafe. "The Little Angels flagship store opening is in 3 weeks, the biggest event in the baby industry this year. 500 VIP guests, live streaming, national media coverage. Isabella has been planning it for months. She sees it as her debut as Marcus's official partner. What if we made it her official downfall instead?" Sophia looked at David, seeing not just the kind boy who had watched her sketch in the library, but a brilliant businessman who understood exactly how to fight this war. "David, there's something you should know. When this is over, when Isabella is gone, and Marcus, when my marriage is over, I'm going to need to rebuild my life, my career, everything. You'll always have a place at Angel Dreams. Sophia, as a partner, not just an employee, your design skills, combined with our business model, we could revolutionize the industry." For the first time since discovering Marcus's betrayal, Sophia felt genuinely excited about the future. Partners, partners, in business, and... David paused, then took her hand gently. "I've waited 8 years to tell you this. Sophia, I've been in love with you since college. I know this isn't the right time, and I know you have a lot to work through, but when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here." Sophia looked down at their joined hands, then back up at David's earnest face. "Ask me again after we destroy Isabella Rodriguez." That evening, Sophia returned home to find Marcus and Isabella in the living room, going over plans for the store opening. They were sitting close together on the sofa, Isabella's hand resting possessively on Marcus's thigh, papers spread out on the coffee table like battle plans. "Oh, look," Isabella said with false sweetness. "The pregnant princess is home. How was your day, sweetheart? More painting, more nesting." "Just some errands," Sophia replied calmly. "Doctor's appointment, grocery shopping, the usual." Marcus didn't even look up from the papers. "Sophia, Isabella and I are working. Could you keep it down? Maybe watch TV in the bedroom." "Of course. I wouldn't want to disturb anything important." Sophia climbed the stairs slowly, making sure her footsteps were audible. But instead of going to the bedroom, she slipped into the guest room that overlooked the living room and carefully positioned herself near the heating vent where she could hear every word of their conversation. "She's pathetic," Isabella was saying. "Did you see how she just accepted being dismissed? No fight left in her at all. The pregnancy has made her emotional and weak. It's better this way, easier to manage the transition." Speaking of transitions, have you signed the divorce papers yet? My lawyer is finalizing them. I'll present them to her after the store opening. I want that event to go perfectly before we deal with domestic issues. Good, because I have a little surprise planned for the opening. Something that will make it very clear to everyone who the real Mrs. Sterling is. Sophia pressed the recording app on her phone, her heart racing as she captured every word. "What kind of surprise?" Marcus asked. "Let's just say that by the end of that evening, Sophia will understand that she has no choice but to disappear quietly, permanently. Isabella, we talked about this. No violence. I won't be involved in anything that could be traced back to me. Don't worry, darling. It will look like an accident, a fall, a complication from the pregnancy. These things happen all the time. And afterward, you'll be free to marry me and start our real family." Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, "You're sure it will look natural?" "Completely natural. I've done this before. Remember, I know how to handle inconvenient wives." Sophia's blood turned to ice. Not only was Isabella planning to kill her, but Marcus was actively participating in the plan. The man she had loved, the father of her child, was planning her murder. She crept back to the master bedroom and locked the door, then called Detective Morrison's direct line. "Detective, it's Sophia Sterling. I just recorded them planning my murder, and I think I know when they're going to do it." 3 weeks. She had 3 weeks to gather enough evidence to destroy both Isabella and Marcus before they destroyed her. 3 weeks to protect her unborn child and build a new life from the ashes of her old one. Sophia looked at herself in the bedroom mirror. The frightened, betrayed woman who had discovered her husband's affair was gone. In her place stood someone harder, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. "Game on," she whispered to her reflection. The baby kicked as if in agreement. Mother and daughter were going to war together, and they were going to win. The morning of the Little Angel's flagship store opening dawned crisp and clear, with the kind of autumn sunshine that made Manhattan look like a movie set. Fifth Avenue had been closed to traffic for 3 blocks. Red carpets rolled out, and security barriers erected to contain the hundreds of photographers and reporters covering what industry magazines had dubbed the baby store event of the decade. Inside the Sterling penthouse, Isabella Rodriguez stood before a full-length mirror, applying the finishing touches to her makeup. She wore a stunning white dress deliberately bridal in its elegance, with a subtle cutout that showed just the hint of her supposedly pregnant belly. The dress had cost $15,000, charged to the Little Angel's marketing account as a promotional expense. "You look perfect," Marcus said, adjusting his black tuxedo in the mirror beside her. "Everyone will know you're the real Mrs. Sterling after tonight. Soon to be the only Mrs. Sterling?" Isabella replied with a smile that was both beautiful and terrifying. 3 blocks away, in a nondescript hotel room, Sophia Sterling sat at a laptop computer, surrounded by Detective Morrison, David Park, and a team of federal agents. Her 7.5-month pregnant belly made sitting comfortably impossible, but adrenaline had taken over, sharpening her focus to a razor's edge. "Final communications check," Detective Morrison spoke into her radio. "All units in position. Unit 1 confirms. We have eyes on the main entrance. Unit 2 confirms. Surveillance equipment is active and recording. Unit 3 confirms. Financial Crimes Division is standing by." David handed Sophia a small device that looked like a compact powder case. "Press the button if you feel unsafe at any point. We'll have agents inside within 30 seconds. "I'll be fine," Sophia said, though her hands were shaking slightly. "After tonight, Isabella Rodriguez will never hurt another family." Detective Morrison reviewed the plan one final time. "You'll enter the event at exactly 8:30 after the main presentations begin. Isabella will be on stage with Marcus, accepting congratulations and posing for photos. That's when you'll make your entrance. And the evidence, everything is loaded onto the USB drive David gave you. Financial records, criminal background, recordings of Isabella planning your murder, and the recording device she accidentally left behind after destroying the nursery. When you plug that drive into the presentation system, it will display on every screen in the store and stream live to all the news outlets covering the event. Sophia nodded, her mind running through every detail of what was about to happen. She had spent 3 weeks preparing for this moment, gathering evidence, coordinating with law enforcement, and steeling herself for the performance of her lifetime. "There's one more thing," David said quietly, "about what happens after tonight, about us." "David, I know this isn't the time, but I need you to know that whatever you decide, whatever you need, I'll be here, as a business partner, as a friend, or," he paused, "as whatever you'll have me be." Sophia looked at this man who had flown across the country to help her, who had risked his own business to fight her battles, who had loved her quietly for 8 years without asking for anything in return. "Ask me again tomorrow," she said softly, "when this is over." At exactly 8 o'clock, the doors of the new Little Angels flagship store opened to reveal a wonderland of childhood dreams and parental fantasies. The 5-story building had been transformed into something between a palace and a theme park, with each floor dedicated to a different stage of child development. Crystal chandeliers hung over displays of diamond-encrusted cribs. A working carousel showcased high-end strollers. The walls were covered with enlarged photographs of beautiful families, all of them featuring Marcus and Isabella as the perfect couple. The guest list read like a who's who of American wealth and power. Tech billionaires mingled with movie stars. Politicians chatted with fashion designers. The press area was packed with reporters from every major news outlet. Their cameras focused on the grand staircase where Marcus and Isabella would make their entrance. At 8:15, Marcus Sterling appeared at the top of the staircase, resplendent in his custom tuxedo. The crowd applauded as he descended slowly, every inch the successful businessman celebrating his greatest triumph. Behind him, Isabella made her entrance like a movie star, her white dress flowing behind her as photographers captured her from every angle. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus spoke into a wireless microphone, his voice carrying throughout the store and live streaming to viewers around the world. "Welcome to the future of childhood luxury. Welcome to Little Angels, 5th Avenue." The crowd applauded enthusiastically as Isabella joined Marcus at the microphone. She placed her hand protectively over her belly in a gesture that was photographed by dozens of cameras. "This store represents more than just business success," Isabella said, her voice sweet and innocent. "It represents the dreams that Marcus and I share for our growing family. Soon, our own little angel will play in these aisles, sleep in these cribs, and grow up surrounded by the love and luxury that every child deserves." The crowd murmured with delight at this public confirmation of what had been whispered about in society circles for months. Marcus Sterling was leaving his pregnant wife for his beautiful young mistress, and tonight was their public debut as a couple. "But before we continue," Marcus said, "I want to take a moment to thank someone very special, Isabella Rodriguez, my brilliant marketing director and the woman who made tonight possible. Isabella, would you like to say a few words about our future together?" Isabella stepped closer to the microphone, her face glowing with triumph. "I want to thank everyone for being here to celebrate this new beginning. Marcus and I are building more than just a business empire. We're building a family legacy that will last for generations. And I want to be very clear about something. There is no room in our future for people who don't support our vision, our values, and our commitment to excellence." The subtext was clear to everyone in the room. The mysterious pregnant wife was officially being replaced, Isabella continued, her voice taking on a harder edge. "Some people might try to cling to the past, to hold back progress with jealousy and manipulation, but Marcus and I are committed to moving forward, together, no matter what obstacles we might face." She paused dramatically, her hand still resting on her belly. "In fact, I have an announcement to make. Marcus and I, excuse me." The voice came from the back of the crowd, soft but carrying clearly through the store's perfect acoustics. Heads turned, photographers swiveled their cameras, and a collective gasp rippled through the assembled guests. Sophia Sterling stood in the main entrance, silhouetted against the Fifth Avenue lights behind her. She wore a stunning navy silk maternity dress that accentuated rather than hid her 8-month pregnancy, and her dark hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon. In her hand, she carried a small silver USB drive. She was not the broken, defeated woman Isabella expected to see. She was radiant, confident, and clearly very pregnant. "I'm sorry to interrupt," Sophia said, walking slowly through the crowd as people stepped aside to let her pass. "But I think there are some things these nice people should know before they celebrate too enthusiastically." Marcus's face went white. Isabella's perfect composure cracked slightly, though she quickly recovered her smile. "Sophia," Marcus said into the microphone, his voice carefully controlled, "this is a private event. You weren't invited. I'm your wife, Marcus. And this is my store too, at least according to the corporate documents I've been reviewing." Sophia had reached the bottom of the grand staircase, close enough now that every camera in the room was focused on the three of them. "I think your guests deserve to know the truth about what they're celebrating." Isabella leaned into the microphone, her voice dripping with false concern. "Everyone, please excuse Mrs. Sterling. Pregnancy can be very difficult, and sometimes it affects women's judgment and emotional stability." The crowd murmured sympathetically, exactly as Isabella had planned. Several people even nodded knowingly. Everyone knew how irrational pregnant women could become. "You're absolutely right, Isabella," Sophia said with a smile that was pure steel. "Pregnancy does affect a woman's judgment. It makes her very protective of her child. It makes her willing to do anything to ensure her baby's safety. And when someone threatens that baby—" Sophia paused, looking directly at Isabella. "Well, that's when you discover what a mother is truly capable of." She held up the USB drive so everyone could see it. "I have some things I'd like to share with everyone. Some recordings, some documents, some very interesting information about the woman you're celebrating tonight." "Security!" Marcus barked, but Sophia was already moving. She stepped past Marcus and plugged the USB drive into the presentation system's main console. Immediately, the giant screens throughout the store lit up with documents, photographs, and audio controls. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sophia said, her voice now amplified through the store's sound system, "I'd like you to meet Maria Santos. That's Isabella's real name. She's wanted by the FBI in connection with 3 murders and approximately $2 million in theft." The screens displayed Isabella's mugshot alongside her criminal record. The crowd gasped as they read the charges: fraud, embezzlement, suspected murder. "Stop!" Isabella screamed, lunging for the console. But Sophia had anticipated this. "I wouldn't touch that if I were you," Sophia said calmly. "Not while everyone is watching." She pressed another button, and Isabella's voice filled the store. "I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of pretending to respect that wife of yours while she waddles around playing house." The crowd listened in shocked silence as the recording played. Isabella's voice confessing to the affair, the fake pregnancy, the financial theft, but the worst was yet to come. Sophia played the recording from the living room 3 weeks earlier. Isabella's voice crystal clear. "It will look like an accident, a fall, a complication from the pregnancy. These things happen all the time. And afterward, you'll be free to marry me and start our real family." Marcus's voice followed. "You're sure it will look natural?" "Completely natural. I've done this before. Remember, I know how to handle inconvenient wives." The silence in the store was deafening. 500 of the most powerful people in America had just heard Marcus Sterling and his mistress planning to murder his pregnant wife. Isabella made a desperate grab for the microphone. "They're lying. Those recordings are fake. She's trying to frame me because she's jealous." But Sophia wasn't finished. She pressed another button, and the screens filled with bank records showing exactly how Isabella had stolen money from Little Angels. Hundreds of thousands of dollars diverted into fake accounts, fake contractor payments, fake marketing expenses. The FBI has been investigating you for 2 years. Maria, Sophia said, using Isabella's real name. Did you really think you could disappear after killing me the way you killed your other 3 husbands? The crowd was backing away from Isabella now, their faces showing horror and disgust. Photographers were capturing every moment. Reporters were speaking rapidly into their phones, and social media was exploding with hashtags like Little Angels, murder and pregnant wife takes down. Marcus tried to salvage the situation. Everyone, please remain calm. These are clearly fabricated. Are they? Marcus, Sophia interrupted. Then I'm sure you won't mind explaining to the FBI why you helped plan my murder. I'm sure you can explain why you gave Isabella access to company funds. I'm sure you can explain why you've been living a double life while your pregnant wife trusted you completely. David Park appeared at Sophia's side, having entered through a service entrance. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm David Park, CEO of Angel Dreams. I'm here to announce that Sophia Sterling has just become my business partner and co-owner of both Angel Dreams and Little Angels. The crowd gasped again. Sophia smiled at their shocked faces. That's right, she said. While you were celebrating Marcus and Isabella's fake romance, I was buying controlling interest in this company. Every major investor pulled out when they learned about the financial fraud and the murder plot. It turns out that threatening to kill your pregnant wife is bad for business. Marcus stared at her in complete shock. That's impossible. You don't have that kind of money. I have better than money, Marcus. I have the truth. And I have friends who believe in justice. Sophia looked out at the crowd of reporters and photographers. David Park's investment firm has purchased 60% of Little Angel's outstanding shares. As of tonight, I am the majority owner of this company. Isabella was backing toward the exit now, her beautiful face twisted with rage and panic. This isn't over. You can't prove anything. I'll FBI. Nobody moved. Federal agents poured into the store from every entrance, their weapons drawn and their badges clearly visible. Detective Morrison appeared beside the main staircase, speaking into a bullhorn. Maria Santos, also known as Isabella Rodriguez, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, money laundering, and violation of federal racketeering statutes. Isabella tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The store was surrounded, every exit blocked by law enforcement. She was tackled by 2 agents before she reached the door, her white dress tearing as she fought against the handcuffs. Marcus Sterling, Detective Morrison continued, you are also under arrest as an accessory to conspiracy to commit murder and as a co-conspirator in the financial crimes committed against Little Angels Corporation. Marcus stood frozen on the staircase as agents approached him, his face a mask of disbelief and terror. This can't be happening. I'm Marcus Sterling. I'm a respected businessman. You're a man who planned to murder his pregnant wife, Detective Morrison replied as the handcuffs clicked into place. Respect is something you threw away. As Marcus and Isabella were led away in handcuffs, the crowd of guests stood in stunned silence. Then, slowly, someone began to clap. Then another person joined in. Within moments, the entire store was filled with thunderous applause as 500 people gave Sophia Sterling a standing ovation. Sophia stood on the grand staircase, one hand resting on her pregnant belly, the other holding David's hand. The baby kicked strongly, as if celebrating their victory. Ladies and gentlemen, Sophia said into the microphone, her voice carrying clearly through the store and out to the millions of people watching the live stream. Little Angels will continue to operate under new management. We will be implementing new policies focused on integrity, family values, and genuine care for children and parents. And we will be donating Marcus Sterling's personal profits from the past year to organizations that support victims of domestic violence. The applause grew even louder. David leaned close to the microphone. Angel Dreams and Little Angels will be merging to create the largest and most ethical children's retailer in North America. Our first initiative will be the New Beginnings program, providing job training and support for women escaping abusive relationships. As the applause continued, Sophia felt the baby kick again, and she smiled. Her daughter would grow up in a world where justice was possible, where mothers could fight back and win, where the truth was more powerful than money or manipulation. The little girl who would have slept in the nursery Isabella destroyed would instead inherit a business empire built on love, integrity, and the unshakable strength of a mother's protection. Marcus Sterling and Isabella Rodriguez were led away to face federal charges that would put them both in prison for decades. The store that was supposed to celebrate their triumph had become the scene of their downfall, and Sophia Sterling, who had been betrayed, threatened, and left for dead, stood victorious in the wreckage of their schemes, ready to build something better from the ashes of their greed. Justice, it turned out, was the most beautiful thing of all. 6 months later. The morning sun streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the new Little Angels and Angel Dreams corporate headquarters in Midtown Manhattan, casting golden light across the nursery where Sophia Sterling Park sat in a rocking chair, cradling her 3-month-old daughter, Emma Grace. The nursery was 10 times more beautiful than the one Isabella had destroyed. Instead of being tucked away in a private home, it was part of the executive floor of the company headquarters, a statement that mothers belonged in the business world, that children were not obstacles to success, but inspirations for it. Emma was perfect in every way a baby could be perfect. She had Sophia's delicate features and David's calm temperament, and she seemed to find everything in the world fascinating. Right now, she was staring up at the mobile of dancing angels that hung over her crib, a new one, handcrafted by the same artisan who had made the original, but even more intricate and beautiful. "Good morning, little angel," Sophia whispered, stroking Emma's soft black hair. "Today is a very special day. Today, Mommy and Daddy are going to show the world what we've built together." The transformation of both companies had been nothing short of miraculous. Within 3 months of Marcus's arrest, Little Angels and Angel Dreams had become the most profitable and fastest-growing children's retailer in North America. The merger had eliminated redundancies, combined the best elements of both brands, and created a company culture focused on integrity and innovation. Sophia had proven to be a brilliant CEO. Her artistic vision, combined with David's business acumen, had revolutionized everything from store design to product development. They had launched a line of eco-friendly baby furniture that was selling faster than they could manufacture it. Their New Beginnings program had provided jobs and support to over 500 women escaping abusive relationships. The company's stock price had tripled, but more than the business success, Sophia had built the life she had always dreamed of. She had married David in a small ceremony at the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, with Emma as their flower girl carried by David's sister, since she was too young to walk. They lived in a penthouse overlooking Central Park, where Emma's nursery had views of the trees and playgrounds where she would someday play. The best part was that Emma would grow up knowing she was wanted, loved, and cherished by both her parents. She would never doubt her place in the world or wonder if she was valued. "Mrs. Sterling Park." David's voice came from the doorway, still formal during business hours, even though they had been married for 2 months. "The press conference is ready to begin." Sophia looked up at her husband and felt the same flutter of happiness she experienced every time she saw him. David was everything Marcus had never been: kind, reliable, supportive, and completely devoted to both her and Emma. He had legally adopted Emma before their wedding, insisting that she needed a father who would always put her first. "How do I look?" Sophia asked, standing carefully. She wore a stunning navy suit that perfectly balanced professional authority with maternal warmth. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, and she wore the pearl necklace David had given her as a wedding gift. "Like the most powerful woman in New York," David replied, then smiled. "And the most beautiful." They walked together through the executive offices, past walls covered with photos of happy families, inspiring quotes about motherhood and success, and framed articles about the company's remarkable turnaround. Employees smiled and waved as they passed genuine smiles from people who were proud to work for a company that valued integrity. The press conference was being held in the main showroom of their flagship store, the same location where Isabella Rodriguez had been arrested 6 months earlier. But today, the room was filled with celebration rather than scandal. Representatives from business magazines, parenting publications, and major news outlets had gathered to hear Sophia's announcement about the company's expansion plans. As Sophia took the stage, carrying Emma in her arms, the assembled reporters rose to their feet in applause. The story of her triumph over betrayal and near murder had captivated the nation, inspiring millions of women and fundamentally changing conversations about corporate ethics and family values. "Thank you all for being here," Sophia began, her voice clear and confident. "6 months ago, I stood in this same spot as a pregnant woman whose life was being destroyed by people I trusted. Today I stand here as a mother, a CEO, and living proof that justice, integrity, and love are more powerful than greed, betrayal, and evil." The audience applauded enthusiastically. Emma, comfortable in her mother's arms, gurgled happily at the lights and cameras. "When Isabella Rodriguez destroyed my nursery, she thought she was destroying my future. When she planned to murder me, she thought she was clearing the way for her own success. What she didn't understand is that mothers are the most dangerous opponents in the world, not because we're violent, but because we're relentless in protecting our children." Sophia looked down at Emma, who was reaching for the microphone with chubby little hands. "This little girl will grow up in a world where companies are held accountable for their actions, where families are valued over profits, and where women can build empires while raising children. She will inherit a business built on the foundation of her mother's refusal to accept injustice." David joined Sophia on stage, placing his arm around both his wife and daughter. "Today, we're announcing the opening of 50 new Little Angels in Angel Dream stores across North America," David said. "Each one will include a child care center for employees, a community space for new mothers, and a donation center for families in need. We're proving that business success and social responsibility aren't just compatible, they're inseparable." A reporter raised her hand. "Mrs. Sterling Park, what would you say to other women who might be facing similar situations? Betrayal, abuse, threats?" Sophia considered the question carefully. "I would tell them that they are stronger than they know, that they deserve better than they're receiving, and that there are people who will help them fight back. I would tell them that justice might not come quickly, but it will come if they're persistent and smart about pursuing it." She paused, looking directly into the cameras that were broadcasting live around the world. "Most importantly, I would tell them that surviving betrayal isn't enough. You have to thrive beyond it. You have to build something so beautiful, so successful, and so meaningful that the people who tried to destroy you realize they only made you stronger." Another reporter called out, "Have you had any contact with your ex-husband or Isabella Rodriguez since their arrest?" Marcus and Isabella are both serving lengthy federal prison sentences. Marcus was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and racketeering. He received 25 years. Isabella, or Maria Santos, as her real name turned out to be, was convicted of murder, attempted murder, fraud, and running a criminal enterprise. She received life in prison without parole. Sophia's voice remained steady and professional, showing no emotion as she delivered this information. "I received one letter from Marcus about a month after Emma was born. He wrote to say that he was sorry for everything he had done and that he hoped Emma would grow up to be as strong as her mother. I didn't respond. My daughter and I have moved forward with our lives, and we have no intention of looking backward." The final question came from a young female reporter. "What advice would you give to young women who want to have both successful careers and families?" Sophia smiled, kissing the top of Emma's head. "I would tell them that it's not only possible, it's powerful. Being a mother doesn't make you weak or distracted or less capable in business. It makes you fierce, focused, and absolutely unstoppable. When you're building something for your children, when you're creating a better world for them to inherit, there's no limit to what you can achieve." As the press conference ended and reporters filed out to write their stories, Sophia and David returned to their offices with Emma. The baby was getting sleepy, So Sophia settled into the rocking chair in the executive nursery while David reviewed the afternoon schedule. "The board meeting is at 3, he said, sitting on the arm of the rocking chair. "The architects want to present the designs for the Chicago flagship store at 4, and we have dinner with the investors from the London expansion at 7. Sophia murmured, watching Emma's eyes flutter closed. "And somewhere in there, I need to pump milk, review the quarterly reports, and approve the new ad campaign." "You know," David said softly, "when I was in college, watching you sketch in the library, I never imagined that one day we'd be running a company together, raising a baby together, changing the world together." Sophia looked up at him with eyes full of love and contentment. "Ask me again." "Ask you what, again?" "The question you've been wanting to ask me every day for the past 6 months?" David's face lit up with understanding. He slipped off the arm of the chair and knelt beside them, taking Sophia's free hand in both of his. "Sophia Sterling Park, you are the most extraordinary woman I have ever known. You're brilliant, beautiful, fierce, and kind. You're an incredible mother and an inspiring leader. Will you let me love you and Emma for the rest of our lives? Will you build this empire with me, raise our children together, and show the world what a real partnership looks like?" "Yes," Sophia whispered, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Yes to all of it. Yes forever." David kissed her gently, then pressed his forehead against hers. "I love you. I've loved you for 8 years, and I'll love you for 80 more." Emma stirred in her mother's arms, opening her eyes and looking up at the two people who loved her most in the world. She gurgled happily, as if she understood that she was part of something beautiful and permanent and good. That evening, as Sophia stood in the nursery watching Emma sleep in her crib, she thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. The pain of Marcus's betrayal, the terror of Isabella's threats, the long nights of gathering evidence and planning her counterattack, all of it had led to this perfect life with this perfect family. The woman who had once cowered in a destroyed nursery, whose dreams had been shattered by jealousy and greed, was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, wiser, and infinitely more powerful. Someone who had taken the worst betrayal imaginable and transformed it into the greatest triumph possible. Emma would grow up hearing the story of how her mother had fought back against impossible odds and won. She would learn that women could be gentle and fierce, loving and powerful, nurturing and unstoppable. She would inherit not just a business empire, but a legacy of strength, justice, and the unshakable belief that good would ultimately triumph over evil. As Sophia turned off the nursery lights and headed to her bedroom, where David was waiting for her, she smiled at the irony of it all. Isabella Rodriguez had thought she was destroying Sophia's future when she ruined that first nursery. Instead, she had awakened a sleeping giant, and now the whole world knew exactly what happened when someone was foolish enough to threaten a mother's child. They lost everything, and the mother won it all.